March 1979, Metropolitan Edison proudly attested that 3 Mile Island met all nuclear safety requirements. Their documentation showed comprehensive operator training, detailed emergency procedures, robust safety protocols, and adequate monitoring systems. Every regulatory checkbox was checked, just like thousands of DIB contractors today who attest to NIST 800-171 compliance. March 28th at 4 a.m., when reality hit, a stuck valve triggered what should have been a manageable incident, but self-attestation met brutal reality. The trained operators had never practiced this specific scenario and were overwhelmed when multiple alarms started to blare simultaneously. Their comprehensive procedures existed on paper, but were confusing and contradictory under pressure. Most critically, operators misread their instruments and turned off the emergency cooling system, the exact opposite of what should have happened. This is the CMMC parallel. Having controls documented isn't the same as having them effectively implemented when adversaries attack. The crisis deepens. For over 2 hours, operators couldn't understand what was happening. Their adequate monitoring systems failed to provide clear information when it mattered most. Meanwhile, radioactive water poured onto containment floors as the reactor core began to melt. The company's robust communication protocols crumbled, with contradictory reports flowing to state and federal officials. Will sound familiar? It's exactly what we see when commercial companies face actual cyber incidents. The gap between attested compliance and real-world defensive capability becomes devastatingly clear. As the crisis escalated, with a dangerous hydrogen bubble discovered in the reactor, President Jimmy Carter made a crucial decision. Unlike any president before or since, Carter was uniquely qualified. He trained as a nuclear engineer in the Navy and personally led a team that dismantled a damaged reactor in Canada in 1952. On April 1st, Carter visited 3 Mile Island in person, standing in the same control room where operators had made their critical errors. His presence calmed panicked residents and marked a crisis end. But more importantly, he understood exactly why self-attestation had failed so catastrophically. Independent verification is essential. The crucial insight: Metropolitan Edison wasn't lying about their compliance. They generally believed they were prepared. The problem was that they self-assessed, and that self-assessment consistently fails to identify the difference between having controls on paper and having them work effectively under real pressure in the real world. Carter's investigation led to a fundamental shift from industry self-attestation to mandatory independent verification. Resident inspectors were stationed at every plant from that point forward. Emergency procedures had to be tested under realistic conditions. Demonstrated competency replaced documented training completion. This is exactly why the DoD is moving from contractor self-attestation to CMMC's independent assessment model. Just as 3 Mile Island operators could honestly believe they were prepared while being dangerously vulnerable, DIB contractors today often attest to cybersecurity compliance while having critical gaps that only become apparent during an actual attack or through independent verification. The SolarWinds breach, the F-35 program compromise, Iranian attacks on defense contractors, these all happen to organizations that have attested to adequate cybersecurity. Self-assessment missed the gaps that adversaries exploited. The bottom line: when the stakes involve national security, we can't afford another 3 Mile Island moment. President Carter's technical background let him see what the nuclear industry couldn't see about itself, that self-attestation creates a false confidence in critical systems. CMMC isn't questioning contractor integrity. It's recognizing that independent verification is the only real way to ensure actual security capability matches claimed compliance. Because when foreign adversaries are targeting your supply chain, you need more than good intentions and documentation. You need proof that your defenses actually work when it matters most.